this is going to be a recap of the reporting process. We've been through this once before already during the onboarding webinar. So a lot of this information might already appear as you've already seen it before because you have. But we want to make sure that for those that were unable to attend, get to see it again, okay? So this here is reporting requirements overview, and it just gives you the general requirements as far as reporting goes regarding the monthly reporting templates, which are due on the 5th of every month. And then also, of course, if you have any changes, you want to make sure you report those, and then we'll go into details about how you report any changes when it comes to the budget or any kind of organizational changes. And then if your project doesn't close out, which I know will not be anytime soon, hopefully, you'll submit a closeout report, and those will go into detail a little bit further down too. The period of performance for this specific grant is from December 1st, 2024 through September 30th of 2026. So, and that means that all funds must be expended by September 30th of 2026. You can go to the next slide, Marie. So the monthly reports, I did include the link here, but I also included the link in the emails that everyone should have received. If you have not, once again, it's included here. And these slides will be provided after the webinar. It's provided here and then also at the end of the presentation, but you can always email me and I can also send it to you. But the submissions are monthly. Once again, they're due on the 5th of every month, and you will be submitting them through Submittable. If you have not been in Submittable already, or if you don't have access, I would suggest probably referring back to the person that filled out the application, because it is one general login and that person can probably assist you in trying to gain access. We do not have that ability. So I just want to make sure, because I have received questions of, can I give you access? Unfortunately, I can't. I don't have that ability. So I can send you the link so that way you can upload it though. So once again, the submissions are required every month. So even if you are not including a request for reimbursement, so you don't have expenditures, we do want you to report, because there are metrics that we'd also like to see, and also overall project overview of how it's going. And then the submission will include the monthly report template, unless, of course, you decide to include a general ledger. The general ledger, if you decide to include it with your submission, should contain all the information that we are looking for in that monthly reporting expenditure tab, which again, we'll go into further detail at the end. But the general ledger should include all the details as far as revenue and expenses, because we want to see those expenses and how they're being coded, and of course, any success stories. Move to the next slide, Marie. Deadlines, once again, the reports are due on the 5th of each month, but if the 5th falls on a weekend or a holiday, then you'll report on the next business day. The first report won't be due until the 5th of the first month after the contract execution. So in this case, it won't be due until October the 5th. Is that correct, Marie?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Reports submitted after the 5th will be processed within the next submission. And I do want to clarify something here. So I did have a couple of questions around the date, and individuals asking me, well, what if I submit early? Would it get processed earlier? Unfortunately, the timeline is due on the 5th. So we can allow everyone to submit by that date, and then we do our reviews, and then it goes through the processing procedures. So even if you do submit early, kudos to you, thank you, but unfortunately it will not change the timeline that's currently set. Go to the next slide.
Zulma, can I just add one quick comment here on the contract and when that first report is due? Like Zuma said, we will ask for that first one to be submitted by the 5th of October. If, we know that some of you may have started and some of you may have not started, or that you may have, been doing a little bit of work, but maybe not have any reimbursements. So as she said earlier, we still want you to submit that report, that template on the 5th. If you haven't done, anything there, we'll go through that later, but there'll be a narrative place where you can indicate, if you're waiting on contract signature or whatever it was, maybe that has impacted when you will actually start work on the program. So just to double confirm, we do want you to go ahead and submit something on the 5th of October. Whether any real work is done on the program.
Yep. And I know everyone has busy schedules, so no worries. I will send a friendly reminder to submit that monthly report if we don't see it in the submittable portal.
Yeah.
The reporting template, I'm not going to go into too much detail here regarding the tabs because we're going to jump into the actual live template. It's the next slide. Again, these are going to be some screenshots that you'll see, but we'll go into the actual template itself. And this one too. Okay, so when we are completing the monthly reporting template, and I know there's some individuals that are pretty familiar with the template as well. So just a reminder to everyone and to those that may not know, when you are submitting your monthly template as far as eligible costs, I always defer to the approved budget, which is also included in the monthly report specific to your organization. So that to me is like your source of truth. That's where if you want to know, can I submit this expense? I will always defer to your budget. If you're unsure, if it's not on the budget, it's probably not going to be eligible unless you have spoken to Kansas office or you've spoken to us in regards to a budget revision. So please make sure to look at your budget because it will let you know. And if you have to ask the question, if it's on the budget, if it's not on the budget, then more than likely it's probably not eligible and you might want to reach out so that way we can get that budget revised because we want everyone to be able to spend down. So help us help you. But again, when we do receive the monthly reports, we'll be looking at it for reasonableness. Is it necessary? Is it consistent with the application? And when we think about all this, was pretty much done on the front end because all of those expenses that you see in that budget have already been approved. So. And then again, just a reminder that for your expenses, you want to make sure that they fall within that period of performance. And that's December 1st, 2024 through September 30th of 2026. So the budget and approval. So make sure that in the budget, if for some reason, and I'm going to try to explain this as easy as possible. So if you have a category for personnel, and let's say that you go over a line item in there for HR. I'm just going to throw out a name out there. I currently have an example, but we'll just say that HR is over budget by $1,000. And if you do the calculation from how much you're over, as long as it's within 10% of that budget category, because there are multiple categories. You'll have personnel, you'll have capital overlay, you'll have other, and don't remember, I have the budget open. Oh no, I don't. But you'll have those specific categories. So you want to make sure you calculate for that specific category that you are not more than 10% over for that section. But at the same time, you also want to make sure that you don't exceed the overall budget that was approved. So if your total budget was $200,000, you can move funds around within the category, approved categories, but you can't exceed the overall budget. Hopefully that makes sense. And I'm sorry if I described that poorly. And then as far as document retention, we do ask that you please retain all support because we are not requiring the support to be uploaded with your monthly report. But as a reminder, you must retain it for a minimum of 5 years. So if you are selected for subrecipient monitoring, which is also a requirement, you want to make sure you have that support there. For event processing, there is also a tab in the monthly report. Most of this information is going to be included in your monthly reporting template. So if you have a change that you need to send in, whether it's to the budget or whether it's to staffing or locations, programmatic changes, there are templates that you'll want to submit that request for. It's in here somewhere.
Hold on, I'm gonna stop sharing.
Please
Right.
hold.
Moment, please. Oh, hold on.
I can present it to you. You want me to pull it up?
I've got it. I just need to hit the right button here now. For some reason, it's jumping around from. Okay. Sorry, and I'm trying to work from 2 different computers, which is a little bit challenging at the moment. Okay. Why is it not wanting to share the? Let me. Okay, it is not letting me get back to this now. Let me.
Okay. I can share it.
Okay, I apologize. I do not know what's happening here.
Hopefully I don't lose everyone in the process. Everyone see it? And of course it's not showing in the right screen. So just a moment.
If not, I also have it open, just in case.
With all 3 of us, I'm sure we can get it up.
Yes.
Okay, where is it at? Here it is. Okay. Now can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I think I need to go back one more. Just a second. Can I open? Okay. Let me stop this. Okay. Yeah. So we were referring to. We were talking about the reimbursement process. And then now we're going into some of the changes that will require a completion form. So there are 2 different forms. Oh, go ahead.
I'm seeing the quarterly monitoring meeting screen. I don't know if.
Oh, are y'all not seeing? I'm clicking and it's showing this.
Yeah, we're seeing quarterly monitoring, and then you're also breaking up just a little bit.
is terrible. Okay, now can everyone see my screen? Hopefully it's right.
It's loading. Give it
Can
a
we
second.
see material change request?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're good to go. Okay. So if we need to request a change for any project changes, here's some examples, like serving a different population, modifying the project scope, reducing the number of individuals, substitutions and model numbers, electronics, et cetera. And then of course down here, budget variances exceeding 10% in a budget category. So you want to make sure that you fill out the grant material project change request form. So in addition to this, what we are asking is that if you do require a change, is that you fill out this form. I'm not going to click on it because I'm afraid that I will lose you. So, but you can click on it and it will open up a form that we ask that you fill out with the intent of the changes, what changes you are proposing. And then subsequently, you will also submit a proposed budget if it is related to a budget change, excuse me. A proposed budget and how that will reflect. So you'll submit the change request form and the updated budget. And then event processing. And here again, if there are any changes, significant changes to like the financial position of the organization, ownership, or updates to key personnel or contact information, you can also fill out this grant event reporting form and submit it to the broadband KS office. And the email is also included on that form on the previous slide that we had just discussed for material changes as well. Quarterly monitoring, so there could be up to 4 times a year that a quarterly monitoring meeting is held. And the intent of this is to see how the organization is progressing, getting any feedback, address any questions, comments, or concerns. And this is usually done remotely and scheduled by KOBD. The final report, so when all is done and you're ready to close out, we will do a final closeout. And as part of that final closeout, there will be a final report that is due. So we'll be looking at the narrative overview of successes for the cumulative months, the metrics as well, and then of course a closeout expenditure report. So I do want to also mention that the report, and I also mentioned in the email that I sent out, that it is intended to be a cumulative report. So please, as you are filling out the form, fill it out monthly, save it, you're just adding on to it. Because I have seen some reports that were missing all the prior months, but we would love to keep it as a cumulative report. Closeout meeting, there will be a meeting that's scheduled, the closeout meeting, and those are usually scheduled. KOBD will schedule a closeout meeting in conjunction with us. And this is just a final review of the reports, an opportunity to share any relevant information related to the project. And then once the meeting is complete, then the final reimbursement payment will be issued then. And then this is just a reminder, because again, we are not asking for any support to be uploaded with the expenditure listing. Do not forget that you still have to maintain those records for at least 5 years from December 2026. So provide records. If any point in time they're requested, you want to make sure that they're readily available. Okay, let me pull up this template that I know everyone just loves. So everyone should have received this similar template, and I say this because there are 2 different versions. One is specific to equipment distribution and one is specific to public Wi-Fi. So you'll see some differences, not much, at all, if any. But we'll go through it, and then this is an opportunity as we go through this, you can ask questions if you like. So this is the narrative tab, excuse me. This is where you'll fill in the progress, any successes, any challenges in the project. I do like to read these as well, and I know KOBD does. So there's some interesting stories, and I like to see the progress. And it's not always progress. Sometimes there's delays or whatnot, but at least it tells us a story as far as where the project is. Project expenditures. So this is a tab that where you'll record if you decide to use this, which I think is probably the most easiest way to do it. But if you have a general ledger that will fit all these requirements, that would be great too. So in this tab, you'll report the period, which in this case, we'll just use October as an example. So the reporting period will be for October 2025. And then the question is, are you requesting reimbursement? Yes or no. And then you got proof of payment. This is the check number, if it's a bank statement, credit card, etc. You know, how it was paid for. Invoice date, vendor number, invoice number, description of expense. The description of expense, I do review these. So I just ask if you can, if it's not clear what it is, if you can please include some additional details, because I just want to make sure that your expenses are agreeing to your budget. The budget category and line item, this has been already preset. We did it based on your approved budget. If you have not taken a look at it yet, we ask that you please do review it. Let me know if something is missing or if it's not functioning correctly. It is unlocked, so you can add columns. You can expand, do wrap text, etc. Because it was, I believe, it's much easier for the organizations to keep it clean. But the only thing I ask is that you please don't modify at least these columns that we already have in here, and also the category and line item, because these have been set to your approved budget. So total expenditures, this is the total cost of the expenses, not taking into consideration any funds that have been used from the grant, and of course, any matching funds as well. But you'll break that out here if that is the case. And then here, the approved budget. I don't have an approved budget in here, but everyone's approved budget has been locked and inserted into the monthly report. And then the metrics, everyone does have metrics. I did include here at the top that please complete columns E, F, and G. We do ask that you can provide some descriptions, some comments or notes, especially if it's, for example, device distribution. So if you have devices that you've already loaned out or loaned out, returned, reused, if you want to add in the location to give us that extra context, that would be great. Same thing with trainings. If you had training, you had number, you want to add in the context of that training, that would be great. Patient status, this is the status of the overall project, where we are in the planning stage, permitting, construction, equipment installation, etc. This is not specific. So can you guys hear me? I'm sorry. I feel like I hear an echoing.
I'm also hearing an echo.
Yeah.
I just went through the list of participants. It looks like the only ones unmuted are you and Marie, so I'm not really sure what's going on.
Okay.
I will mute just in case there's an issue on my end.
There is a federal reporting 1B tab, and so this is just a collection of pretty much the same information that you're already providing here, but this has to be reported. So this is a federal requirement. And this is again just a pull down, so like your cumulative expenditure for the month. So you can easily grab this from the project expenditure tab, because there is a sum total at the very bottom as well. And I will be looking at these. So for any reason, if you're having troubles, we can always just jump on a call, go through it together. And then this is the project changes tab. This is where that form is for the material project change request. And then it just goes into detail of when you want to request. And the only tab that is here that I just realized, there's a table that summarizes all your expenditure. I did that hoping that everyone, as you refresh it, you can just tie it back to your budget so you know where you are as far as spend down goes, and how much you have, because that's what we'll use it for. It's very helpful. So, does anyone have any questions?
It does look like we got some in the chat, and there at the end you were kind of breaking up. Do you want to, is there other items you want to keep going through?
No. So this is the main focus. And then Kimberly, I do see the chat. So Kimberly, I know you say you didn't receive the template. Can you put the organization name in there for me so that way I can see? Because I know they were all sent out. So it might be that we don't have the correct email. Okay. Yeah, I do remember sending those out. Okay. I can forward it to you if you want to send me an email via email, that's fine too. And then we have another question. If we have net 30 plan with the vendor, is it acceptable for proof of payment? So when we say we have net 30 plan, I'm not really sure I understand, but I am going to respond with proof of payment. What we're looking for is actual payout. So we're looking for copies of checks. If it's from withdrawal, then we're looking for that withdrawal from on the statement. That's what we are looking for. And then project expenditures. Hopefully that answers your question, Sarah. Did I answer your question?
So I think
oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Sarah.
We've purchased our items with our vendor on a payment plan where we have 30 days to pay. So I'm not sure how to report on that.
So you would not show that until the payment is actually made.
Yep.
Okay, so then would I just request the funds without?
After. Yeah, so if you want to include it, for example, so if you include it on your expenditure listing, so the reporting period, are you requesting reimbursement? No.
Okay, so I couldn't request reimbursement until I could show
The
that
actual, it's correct. So one of the things that when you submit into Submittable, there is a question that pops up. So when you request for reimbursement, it's going to ask, are you requesting reimbursement for this month? Yes. It's going to ask you for how much are you requesting reimbursement? And then there is a third that will ask that if you are requesting for reimbursement, that you are acknowledging that payment has been made to the actual vendor, and or if it's a payroll related reimbursement, that those have been released as well.
Okay.
Project expenditure tab. Do we need to enter data on the project expenditure tab every month or only if we're requesting reimbursement? So you should be, for this tab, you should be updating it monthly with your expenses, right? Because the best way to track it, or if you have an alternative tracking mechanism, then there as well. But totally up to you. So if you're using two different files, I guess I can see that, but I guess for me, I would want to track it all here and then update it or move it down. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, thanks so much for that response. This is Julia, and that was my question. I guess what I mean is, like, for example, you want to report in October, we're not going to have any expenditures for that. So is it more important to just put in the date right under the reporting period column and then say, no, nothing is being requested for reimbursement?
Yes, that is
Okay.
absolutely okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, looks like another question, unless we answered both, was the project expenditure and the metrics tab.
Okay, sorry, that was also my question. So regarding the metrics reporting tab, if we have a Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi project, are we supposed to be entering data into the device distribution fields or just leave those blank?
No, you can leave it blank because this should not, all of these are not, and I thought I went back. So for example, public Wi-Fi won't see equipment distribution at the very end, and then equipment distribution won't see public Wi-Fi because they're specific. So what we did is try to make it more general at the top and then more specific to the program at the bottom. So if that doesn't apply, then just leave it blank.
Okay, thanks so much.
All right, another question on the 10% holdback, is that withheld from each reimbursement or just at the end of the project? Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's just the end of the project.
Correct.
Okay, and then if we've spent all the money, If we spent all the money, but we are not at closeout, do we only ask for a percentage?
We have spent all the money, but we are not at closeout. Do we only ask for a percentage? A percentage of, Katrina, can you, I don't know if you feel comfortable coming off mute, but I want to make sure I understand your question.
Sure. So we bought all of our equipment, and that's what our expenses are, just equipment. So do I just ask for reimbursement for 100%, and then the retainage, would you just retain whatever the retainage is, or do I need to take off the percentage of retainage?
Yes, correct. So it is, you will submit for the full payment, and then we will withhold that 10%.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? I know there's someone on the call that has a question. They're probably fighting themselves to come off mute. Nobody wants to ask a question?
I'm sorry if this got covered. The dates said 2024. Were those supposed to be 2025 through 2027 at the very beginning?
No, so it is from December 20, let me go back. So December 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2026 is a period of performance. And it is also in the contract as well. So if you ever just want to remember, it's in there too, details.
So just to confirm, this technically started December of last year?
Correct.
So what that means is that if you had any expenses starting in December of last year when the period of performance technically opened, you can submit backdated expenses, assuming that they're allowable and they make sense for the program or are part of your approved budget. Does that make sense?
Yep. And just to confirm then, reporting for this would end after that 2026 date?
Correct. Because we would have to process any expenses, your report, because they'll end, the period of performance ended September of 2026. So you'll still report in October for those final expenses.
Okay, thank you.
I have a quick question. For the expense report that we are submitting on October 5th, for example, are we submitting all September only, or are we also including October 1st to 4th?
If you include October 1st, then you are again in submittable when you get ready to submit, then you are stating that that expense has been paid for.
Gotcha.
So there's no reason, if you've already paid for it and it's before the 5th. If you sent it to me on the 5th and with an expense on the 5th, then I probably might have to follow up.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Zuma, I'm going to just jump in and kind of build off of that a little bit too. So you don't have to limit your expenses or the expenditures to just that month that you're reporting on. So let's just say if you have an expense from August of this year that you want to submit for reimbursement, but it hasn't been paid yet for some reason, whatever. You can submit that, like, let's say by the time the 5th rolls around of October, that expense has not been paid yet. There's no issue with you holding that, and then once it is paid, submitting it in that next report. So let's say that got paid in middle of October. You would just include that expenditure on the report that you submit the 5th of November. So we're not tying the expenditures that you submit in a month to that exact month that you're reporting on, if that makes sense. Hope I
Yes,
did
that makes
that.
sense. I do have a follow-up question.
Go ahead.
So once we submit, we are waiting 45 days for the payment or 30 days? Do we know?
So I did have that same question someone asked me yesterday. And so what I explained, or I'd like to explain and clarify for everyone is that on the 5th, that's when your report is due, but just as a reminder that it does have to go through a review process, right? So from the 5th through the 20th, we are reviewing expenditures, doing any follow-up. And this is why it's also important that when you're submitting your monthly report, that you complete it to the best. And if you can provide as much information as we need, because then they'll just delay the process as well for your organization. But we'll go through that review process from the 5th through the 20th. And then after the 20th, that has to go through a second review process. So first checkpoint is, we're checking for allowability. We're making sure that the expenses make sense, the amounts, et cetera. So when we report that to the second reviewer, which is Kansas, they'll take a look at it as well. We've already done that upfront check. And then from there, they do their review and then they enter it into the system for payment. And then once that gets done, then the payment is finally processed. So,
Right.
Marie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've been telling, I recommend folks to expect at least a 30 to 45 day wait.
Yes, because once the WIT team submits that information to us after they've done their initial review, like she said, then that's where Jessica steps in and she actually looks over everything, submits the payment vouchers to our fiscal department. They enter it into the state accounting system at that point. And then it also has to go through the State Department of Administration for final payment approval and entry. So we absolutely make every effort we can to process it and get those requests into the system by before the 30th of the month, that same month that you've submitted the request. There are occasions where it may take a little bit longer because again, there are folks after us at the state level that have to approve it before the payment is actually made. So yeah, Zoom is exactly right where, hopefully it's paid within that 30-day window, but it could be up to 45 days.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And I know my audio was fading out, so apologies for that. So if there was something that anyone did not hear, could not hear, or would like me to go back to, please let me know.
And I'll just add also, if you run into any issues as you're filling out the forms, the template and reporting, just, reach out to Zuma or myself directly. We're very happy to help and walk through things with you if needed. This is a new process for probably most of you. And so it can maybe look a little bit overwhelming. But again, if you struggle with anything, have any questions, please reach out. Communication is key, and we want to be here to help you, but we need to know that you need help. So we really do want to try and make it as easy as possible.
We try to make it a one-stop shop with the monthly reports.
I thought there was someone else that I saw in the comments that said they didn't get a report or a monthly.
Yeah, I saw Omni,
Okay.
and I know I sent that out as well. You know what? Well, I guess we're waiting for questions. Try to forward those as well. Jessica, do you have my email? If you do, would you mind just shooting me your email, or if you feel comfortable inserting it here so that way I can just forward you what we sent? Yes, Katrina, you're more than welcome to drop off if you have no other questions.
And I do think Zuma answered this earlier, mentioned it, but we're recording the call. We will post that on our website probably sometime next week and get that link sent out in case you have anyone that was unable to make it and then wants to listen to the webinar. That'll be made available. We'll also look at the questions and probably do a short FAQ just so we can put out the same information to everyone in case they weren't available for the call. And then again, that link and the link to the recording will be sent out sometime next week. Are there any other questions that you have for us? Anything you can think of? Again, I think I'll just stress the importance of the change request process if you need to make a budget amendment. We are certainly happy to look at those. And again, we just ask that you use that form and that if it is a budget amendment, that you, when submitting that form to us, include a copy of your proposed budget as you're asking for it to be changed so that we can look at that up front. That will definitely speed up that process of our review and decision making on that. So that's really important because we need to make sure that every expenditure links directly to an approved line item and category on your budget. The other thing that I know that has come up, and I think Zuma touched on this a little bit, but in submittable, there's only one person that can actually, as I understand it from the submittable representative, there's only one person that can actually submit the information once you have entered it in there. Multiple people could be in that working and uploading documents if need be. So if you have, a couple of people working on things, as I understand it, but not everyone will have actually see the button to submit when it's time to do that. So if you run into any questions about that or issues, let us know. We can, as Zuma said, we can't add people to your submittable account, but we can help connect you maybe with the folks at Submittable that could walk you through that process and help you out with that. Let's see, do we have any more questions? I don't think so. All right. Oops. Okay, Rick's got a question. Is the cost, oops. Just lost it. Is the cost of insurance on the broadband considered a reimbursable expense? And then I'm not sure what the rest of that, or Rick, maybe can we take that offline, and since that's very specific to your grant, and if you could email me that question for sure, so I'm understanding it correctly, then maybe we can talk about that a little bit more offline. And this is Marie. I think you have my email address from the communication we've shared about the contracts. All right. Well, I think if there are no additional questions, then I think we can wrap up here. And again, appreciate you all joining us today. And as I've said, and will always repeat, please feel free to reach out and communicate with us if you have any questions or any concerns that come up. We do want to work with you and make sure that these projects are as successful as possible. So we are always here to provide whatever technical assistance we can. So thank you all for joining, and we look forward to getting the October 5th report.
Hey, Suma, are you still there?
I'm here.
I couldn't get the audio working in the beginning. Do you know when we should get those contracts?
Marie. I think she had mentioned or gave a follow-up on that at the beginning, and I know they've been sent out. And I think Marie, I don't know if she can hear me.
Doesn't look like it. She did say she followed up via email with several of you guys to follow up on the contract execution and the timeline associated with that. It's my understanding that that may depend on your specific contract and where it's at in the process, but definitely email Marie and follow up with her directly unless she can hear us, answer us.
I know. I think we lost her.
Do you have her email again?
Yes, let me put it in here for you. I'm gonna put it in the chat for you.
Got it.
There you go.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Y'all take care. Thank you.
You
Thanks.
too.
All right, looks like Michael Michael might be the only one that isn't a note taker left, potentially.
Yeah, I was gonna say all these note takers are hanging with us.
Michael, did you have any specific questions, or are you just hanging with us to hang?
Oh,
Right, okay. Did you want to come off mute and ask those, or did you want to?
okay. I was gonna ask Marie if she can stop the recording.
Yeah, I might just kick her out of the meeting, to be honest.
Yeah. because-
I am removing all the note takers, though. I thought they were supposed to leave when their people left, but what do I
Yeah.
know?
Okay, are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So basically I just had a question about needing to get the 3 different quotes to make purchases. If things have already been pre-approved, do we still need to get those and keep records for those?
I would recommend keeping it for yourself. I would.
Okay, and then we had one item that we got for the fiber installation, which is being put in by the ISP that does the rest of our dark fiber backbone. It wasn't really possible to get 3 quotes for that since it's only available through that one provider.
Hmm.
Then document that.
Okay,
Yeah.
because since they run the rest of our dark fiber, all of our lines are on the rest of their network, so.
Yeah, I would just document that. You could, type it up on, in a Word doc or something just to say this
Okay.
is the justification for why we essentially sole source purchase.
Okay, and then for the rest, normally since the dollar amount is so low on them, we wouldn't really get like 3 quotes because it's just like switches and stuff like that. If I just like print out the page of the price from different websites, would that count or?
You can follow and Selma, correct me if I'm wrong, but what we would typically recommend is following whatever your procurement method is. And if you don't
Okay.
have one, or your procurement thresholds, I should say, and if you don't have them, follow the federal. And I'm guessing those fall well below the micro purchase threshold, which doesn't technically require the 3 estimates or
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay,
Right.
because usually anything under like $1,000 doesn't require any other approval, and if it's over $1,000 up to 10,000, it requires approval from like the city manager.
Yeah, if it's under that 1,000, follow your procurement policy, because
Okay.
when you audited, that'll be what you're audited against.
And is
Yeah.
that like per item then, basically?
It depends. Like, let's use the switches, for example. If you were buying 1,000 of them and that got you to $1,001, or I'm sorry, like $900, I would still maybe print out the documentation saying what you bought and that specifically is under the each piece is under the threshold. But it should be like if you were purchasing multiple items within one purchase that tripped the threshold, you do have to do the estimates. Like, you can't piecemeal it, if that makes sense.
Okay, but if we're purchasing like wireless access devices and switches, would those be like separate items then, basically?
Not if they're made in one procurement.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, I'll keep that in mind then.
Yeah, so we definitely you can't split out purchases, just for the sole intent of avoiding the thresholds, right?
Yeah.
And documentation requirements. But if you were to do the one purchase and it trips the threshold, then keep that in mind as well.
Okay, and you're saying if it is anything over $1,000, then getting like the 3 quotes would be advised, because normally that's only required for any purchase over $10,000.
It's whatever your procurement thresholds are, whatever you guys have internally documented, whatever's required for
Okay.
your organization, which should be following, if not more strict than the uniform guidance or the federal requirements. So if your policy says $1,000 to $10,000. We just need to do like some due diligence, do some Googling, print
Yeah.
out where we see these things and that we chose the best one that makes the most sense and is at a reasonable price, then do that.
Okay, that's what I'll do. I'll probably will like take screenshots from free sites just to be safe on every item that I get then, because it's not too difficult to do.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's all I had for questions then.
Good. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. I think that's it.
Yep. And I don't know what happened to Marie. All right, Marie, we're leaving.
She's on hold. She can't hear us anyways.
Yeah.
You want to just message her and let her know since the recording?
Yeah, then we just hung up. That's
Okay.
fine. Bye.
Bye.